Okay, the final video in this series of human design and creative flow, also known as the life in flow. All of my slides have not been updated, so I should fix that, but it's kind of a bit late. But we're up to play as medicine. And what is involved today, we're going to be talking about nurturing, self-guided community and family, nurturing and sustaining and thriving, and those kind of words that we want to sort of like pivot the mind and the heart and the soul and the spirit towards as the life that we want to be living. So, in nurturing, these aspects that we want to nurture for play as medicine is to help us to, carry the energy between positive events. So, life, obviously, it's yin and yang. We have the dark and the light, we have the good experiences, and there's plenty of grief, and there's plenty of sadness, and there's plenty of loss. All of that stuff comes when we may not have a choice about it, and it's really how we respond and how we kind of hold ourselves together, how we build resilience, and how we survive slash thrive through those kind of down times of life. And they're inevitable. Melancholy and sadness, it's all a part of the world that we want to live in, and we get to have these beautiful nurturing experiences throughout those painful times. And there are things like relationships that we want to be fostering. So I guess I've mapped it down here. We've got family and community for those relationships. Like, what is our family state like? It doesn't need to mean that if the family state is not in a healthy situation and you're unable to be close or near to your family or really can't work with them, then who are your sort of adopted family and who are your friend family? Your community might extend to people that you aren't super close to or super familiar with, but you're kind of giving something into the community environment. So, like a community garden or some volunteering on some type. Like, not everybody's capable of volunteering, but maybe you're just a good participant in the world when you are, going to the shops or passing other people by. Like, having a sense of kindness and helpfulness and supportiveness to the people who are around you. And self-directed there is kind of talking about those creative skills or dance or play, working out what is your particular dose of medicine. What is the play that really fills you up? So for a generator type, 70% of population are sacral based, so they can do something that is going to fill up and energize or use up rather the energy of that sacral towards something that they really love doing. And there are other complexities within the chart, which maybe some people have more passive things that they enjoy or more active things that they enjoy. But it's working out what your particular formula is, and making sure that part of your scheduling, and if it's that fixed scheduling or that flow state scheduling, what is that nurturing element that you're bringing into your world to make sure that you're continuously filling your cup up and using your energy well and appropriately. Onto sustaining. So we want it to be long lasting. So like, depends what your inner authority is. Again, like, it's a reflecting on those, and by now you may know what your inner authority is. If you've done a copy of the chart for yourself, you can do a lot of free charts you can access on different websites, and I use Genetic Matrix primarily, but there's things like Neutrino Design app that you can use. There are several things, Jovian Archive, but I do use Genetic Matrix. But getting back to this, like, this is sustaining your cycles, understanding your cycles and your rhythms, having that experiment with the experiment with your strategy and your authority, getting in tune with what your inner authority is, how that feels, how you're communicating that with the people around you, and the life that you want to build or create or work towards, that vision. It needs to be sustaining and self-encouraging, self-fulfilling. With that Taurus field graphic there, we are a toroidal field. Like, so our energetics, our magnetics coming off of the actual body is sending this that round kind of toroidal shape out, and it loops back up and into our system. So what we're putting out is what we're coming back in. So we want to be looking at sustaining the sort of the patterns or the flow that is going to keep our health and well-being well, and it's going to work in with our strategy and authority, however that looks for you. So you're looking at that greater picture of what can sustain you, what will be sustainable, and working out that system of balance. It's all about balance, it's about relationship. So relationship is everything. So the things in our lives when we feel like there's a lot of separation from two things, or separations from, say, there's groups of people that or there's a job that you have, and there's just really no connection or balance between the work that you do and the family that you have, or these two friend groups that just don't know each other at all. And that might be okay for some people, but again, it's your own context and it's your own assessment of the relationships between things. And are they pulling in different directions, or are they kind of adding up to something collectively sustaining, and that is kind of continuing to feed that thing that you want more of back into your system? But if you're making sacrifices in some areas, going against what feels in alignment, going against your energy, and even if you're doing some in other ways, you're still putting into the field that stuff that you don't want. So you're really going to be continuing the loop cycle. So it's really about kind of purifying, although cautious with the word purifying, but it's clarity, right? And it's clean clarity with understanding what your alignment is, and then having that be sustaining in a way because it's attuning to your frequency that you want to sit in and you want to stay in. And then finally, we touch on thriving. This next level, or this companion to sustaining, is thriving. So, what is elevating us? What is taking us higher? What is taking us deeper within? Connectedness to nature, connectedness to spirit, looking at consciousness, having some play with mythic and there's mythology stories, or uh, fantasy stories. These are all things that we can combine to have play in our lives. So this realm, if you want to also zoom out and look at this realm of life, this material plane, this third density realm, which is all about the material, we have a certain set of limitations here on this field. These limitations that we need to learn to live with, but they are tools, and they're, we have the ability to play in this realm, is what I'm trying to get at. Once we understand that we can create our own reality, and that we can manifest our visions, and that we just, like, we go back to the beginning of this session and talking about deconditioning and taking away some of the distractions and the external influences, coming into harmony with who we are, we start to move into this space where we can set up the systems which are nurturing, sustaining, and thriving. So we're really able to start connecting to things that are greater than us, that are bigger than us, and then playing in this field that's like this magnetic. I just read this post on Facebook actually about, like, we don't want to talk in terms of levels, because it's not better than or worse than. There's nothing, it's not like that. Someone who's not as aligned as someone else is not worse than, or I wouldn't want to say a lower level. They're just in different parts of the playing field. So if we think of it as a sphere, spherical, or in densities, then we can be anywhere here in the construct. And so that's part of creative flow, part of understanding our human design, being in alignment, working out what that flow and that rhythm and that that's how to, like, duck and weave and listen to our own inner authority. It really quietens down the noise and our impact from external sources, we're then really able to thrive, and to reach those higher sources, to really work on our heart health. So yeah, I'm not trying to say it's levels, but um, coordinates. I'm going to just say coordinates. So, when you're in a highly aligned coordinate, then we have that ability to bring in those really super thriving aspects to life. And that play translates to medicine. It's your particular play. It's not my particular play. Like, there may be similarities, and there may be things that um, makes sense to both of us, but it's really that attunement into your own understanding of what takes you where you need to go, because you understand your inner authority. So in understanding that, that will guide you towards what it is that will help you thrive in life, and to nurture you and to sustain you long into the future. So I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you've enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed putting it together, in its imperfect form, perfectly imperfect. I just really appreciate your time, and if you do want to go deeper with me, so I think that the next stage I'm going to do a mastermind. So there should be some information about masterminds, but I will be working out the dates for those. So if there is interest, I'll start to put in some groups. So I'm going to work in sort of 3-month bunches, and people will get their own foundational reading of just the surface of their charts. Then we can all come together in a group and talk about, what are the pain points of life and the challenges of life, and how can we support each other to work through them. Of course, if you do want to work one-on-one with me, my preference is for a 90-day intensive, where we go really, really deep into your specific design and help you start to really attune to your own life and your own authority. And we'll support you over a 3-month period of actually locking in and coming into alignment and finding that creative flow in your life. If none of that suits you, no worries, just stay in the field and we'll see if something pops up eventually. I'd love to hear your feedback from this video series. I've got the Conscious Creative Flow course I failed to mention. The Conscious Creative Flow course, it's 2 hours of content around the specific steps in creating the circumstances for creative flow. So it's a little bit less talking about human design, a little bit more into my experience as an artist and as a creative, and those steps that I've gone through in order to create songs, write songs, or create art. So it is a bit music centered, as me like talking about my examples, but I think it can be also attributed to other types of art and creative work generally. So I try to pull out and speak to all types of creative work. But Conscious Creative Flow, I really encourage you to take that course if you're wanting to move past stagnation and like into actual steps that you need to focus on, in order to get that creative flow going from that creative experience aspect. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you soon. I don't know.